What is standards-based learning and reporting, and what does this mean for students? Standards-based learning and reporting means that student learning opportunities are based on academic standards. Student learning opportunities are the lessons or learning experiences that students engage with in the classroom. Student learning is also reported based on academic standards. When teachers report student learning, they're reporting it on assignments, assessments, tasks, or projects, for example. And when learning is reported, it will be based on the academic standards or the goals of that assessment, project, or task. And that also includes that student learning will be reported based on academic standards, on progress reports, and district report cards. Academic standards are the learning goals set for students to achieve by the end of each school year. Academic standards for students in Santa Cruz Valley Unified School District often come from the Arizona Department of Education. There are standards for every content, every course in our district. So what changes will students notice? Students will notice a greater emphasis on the quality of learning evidence as opposed to earning points. Students might be familiar with earning points on assignments or tests or projects, and then getting a grade based on the total amount of points that they earned out of the total amount of points from the assignment. Well, now teachers will be looking at the quality of the learning evidence, not students earning points. There will be an emphasis on the importance of practice as a means for deepening learning, shifts in how learning is monitored, evaluated, and reported, and more student involvement in monitoring their own learning. How will your learning evidence be monitored, evaluated, and communicated? Your learning will be evaluated and communicated based on what you know and can do. This is called learning evidence. Your learning evidence will be evaluated and communicated based on proficiency levels, which are emerging, developing, proficient, and extending. And that is instead of using the A through F, A, B, C, D, F letter grades. Let's take a look at the proficiency levels in our district. As I mentioned before, your learning evidence will be evaluated and communicated based on proficiency levels. This is our district proficiency scale. There are 4 levels. These levels include Level 1 is emerging, and that is when the learning evidence demonstrates that the student is in the early stages of understanding and acquiring the skills related to levels 2 and 3. In Level 2, the learning evidence demonstrates a foundational knowledge of skills necessary for meeting the standard. So students might understand the vocabulary, they might grasp simpler procedures or isolated details. Level 3, this is the expectation for all learners that learners demonstrate the evidence of the knowledge, understanding, or skills that meet the academic standard. As mentioned before, academic standards are the goals that are set for the course or for the class. So when students show that they can do what the standard says, then they are demonstrating a proficient level. In grades 3 and above, there is a level 4 called extending, and this is when the evidence of learning shows a deep understanding or advanced application of the content and skills of the standard. Grades will now be numbers 1 through 4, which represent these levels on the proficiency scale. This system is dependent on students showing their learning evidence. A mark of no evidence, which you can see at the bottom of the scale, means that students have not yet shown evidence of learning. As you've been hearing during this presentation, student learning is communicated and evaluated based on standard proficiency scales and student evidence. Our teachers have developed specific proficiency scales for these standards in our classes. Here you can see an example of a 2nd grade math standard proficiency scale for solving word problems involving collections of money. That one on the left, a student can then understand what does it look like to be at the proficient level. So these explain the specific learning expectations for the particular standards in a class. Students and families will have access to all of our district proficiency scales that are aligned to our course standards. Students, you might see these throughout the school year. Sometimes you might see them as you see them on the screen. Sometimes these might show up as your learning target for lessons, or they might be stated on your assignments. So these communicate in a clear manner what the expectations for learning are for each standard. What will StudentVUE progress reports and report cards look like? There is a separate video to update students and families on what these reports look like. The goal of this presentation is to help students understand the changes that come around with standards-based learning and reporting. For students, you will begin to see that your StudentVUE is updated to show the standards taught and assessed during that time, as well as marks that will show how you're doing. You can access your StudentVUE at any time. Progress reports will be updated so that you and your families can see how you're doing on the standards at that moment. The goal of a progress report is to report on your learning progress. Now, the exact template that your teacher uses might be a little different, as we have different templates or reports that we can use. You will receive your progress report on the 4th week, the 9th week, and the 13th week of every semester. Here is a quick look at an elementary report card. Each grade level in elementary, kinder through 5th grade, has its own report card, which you can find at our district website if you're interested in looking at these more. You will receive your semester grade in December and another semester grade in May, and these report cards will go out to you and your families. Here's an example of the 6th through 12th grade report card. The standards will be listed on the report card for every class that the student is enrolled in, and then that final proficiency scale for each of the standards will be on the report card. That is it for this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and have a great school year.